One rainy day, James and Sophia met under a big tree. The rain poured around them, but they stood quietly. Sophia's eyes looked heavy with sadness. James noticed and asked gently, "Why are you so quiet?" "Should I say something?" Sophia sighed. "I've been standing here in the rain for 2 hours, waiting for you," James said, his voice soft but full of emotion. "Why did you ask me to come here?" "We need to talk," James continued seriously. "I'm listening," Sophia said, looking at him. James frowned slightly. "Why were you late?" he asked. "I was busy," Sophia replied, brushing her wet hair aside. James's face fell. "You're always busy, you never have time for me," he said sadly, his heart aching. Sophia lowered her eyes. "I didn't want to see you," she confessed softly. James took a deep breath, his voice almost breaking. "That's why we need to talk openly. This might be our last meeting." Sophia's head shot up. "Last meeting? Why? Won't you come to see our child?" she asked, her voice trembling. James nodded slowly. "I will see my child, but not you." Sophia's eyes welled up, but she spoke firmly. "We will meet again." James looked down at the flowers in his hand, raindrops dripping from the petals. "Look, I came with flowers. I've apologized so many times," he said, his voice cracking. "But you still haven't forgiven me." "What else can I do?" Sophia's tears mixed with the rain on her face. "I can't forgive you, James," she whispered. James's heart sank. "Why? What did I do that you can't forgive me?" he asked, his voice full of pain. Sophia met his gaze with sad eyes. "You know why. That's why I can't forgive you," she said softly. "You are selfish. You don't even think about our child's future," James accused, his voice sharp with frustration. Sophia's eyes narrowed. "And have you thought about it?" she challenged. James's expression softened for a moment. "I tried. I tried to save our family," he said, almost pleading. Sophia shook her head, anger and hurt in her eyes. "I came to you so many times, James. But you only came twice. And even then, it felt like you were just pretending to care." James took a step closer, his voice quieter but firm. "Listen, Sophia. I am his father. I can see him any time." Sophia looked at him, her heart aching. "Do you think marrying someone else will make him a father to our child? Answer me," James demanded, his voice rising. "You brought this on yourself," Sophia said, her tone unyielding. James let out a heavy sigh, his shoulders dropping. "Yes. I know. I wasn't a perfect husband. I'm not hiding it. I hit you sometimes, but not always," he admitted, shame in his eyes. Sophia's lips trembled. "You hit me many times, James. I didn't tell anyone. I kept it inside," she said softly, the memories weighing on her. "There were reasons." "I never hit you for no reason," James argued, frustration returning to his voice. "No matter the reason, James, you shouldn't hit a woman," Sophia replied, her eyes glistening. "I had a bad temper, yes, but you hit me when I was pregnant." "I remember that." James's face twisted with guilt. "I didn't hit you then. I pulled you." "There's a difference," he insisted. Sophia's gaze pierced through him. "No man should ever lay a hand on his wife." "What even caused that fight, James?" James hesitated, his voice lowering to almost a whisper. "Jealousy. I was jealous, even when you were pregnant. I yelled, I said horrible things. I lost control. You should have stayed calm, Sophia said quietly. You should have respected me first, James snapped. I did respect you, she said, her voice trembling. James shook his head. Is this what you call respect? Blaming me for things I didn't do? I blamed you because I felt it, James. If you were innocent, you would have reassured me. Instead, you stayed silent and, you hit me, Sophia said, tears finally streaming down her cheeks. You're not innocent either. How could I stay calm when you said such cruel things? James snapped. Sophia's eyes burned with anger. Does that give you the right to hit me? A husband has no excuse to hurt his wife, she stated firmly. I was your husband. You should listen to me, James said, his voice low but tense. You're my ex-husband now, Sophia replied coldly. James's eyes darkened. Life isn't simple, Sophia. There's no such thing as a perfect family. I've made my decision, James, she said, her voice unwavering. James's heart pounded. What do you want? I want a divorce, Sophia said clearly, her words cutting through the air like a blade. James took a shaky breath. Do you think everything will just end after that? Yes. You need to sign the papers, she replied without hesitation. James stared at her. And what if another man treats you the same way? Can you guarantee that won't happen? Sophia crossed her arms, standing her ground. That's not your concern. Go find a wife who's better for you. James's voice softened. 2 years. Did you forget all the good times we had? Yes. There's no point remembering them. I don't feel anything for you anymore, she said, her voice calm but distant. James's jaw tightened. If we go our separate ways, my child stays with me. Sophia stepped forward, eyes fierce. I've raised him since the day he was born. Don't you dare try to take him from me, James's fists clenched. A nanny can care for him. I won't leave my child. You can't take him, James. You don't even spend time with him. I'm his mother. He stays with me until he's 18, she declared. James's voice cracked. And when he grows up and asks why his dad wasn't around, what will you tell him? I'll explain the truth. But did you ever promise me you'd stop hitting me? No, you didn't, Sophia said quietly, her voice laced with pain. James's eyes softened with regret. And what about you? You never promised to change either. Maybe if you had, things could have been different. Do you remember the last time I hit you? It was because you were drinking alcohol, James said, his voice quiet but tense. Sophia crossed her arms. Oh, I remember that day very well, James frowned. You embarrassed me in front of my friends. You didn't listen to me and got drunk, James. It wasn't alcohol, Sophia replied firmly. James narrowed his eyes. How can I believe that? Ask anyone who was there. It was just a cocktail, she explained. No. I don't believe you, James muttered, shaking his head. I was upset that day, so I reacted the way I did. You thought it was alcohol, Sophia said softly. I really believed it was. But why did you do that? James asked, his voice trembling. Sophia looked away. I'm not telling you, she said quietly. Why, Sophia? He pressed, stepping closer. Because you insulted me first, she admitted. James looked confused. I don't remember doing that. Of course, you don't. You always forget the things that hurt me, Sophia said, pain flickering in her eyes. Then tell me now. If you don't, I'll think you're lying, James insisted, desperation in his tone. Sophia's eyes hardened. You know why we're divorcing. Why are you pretending not to understand? I tried to be a good wife, James. I didn't cheat on you, James said quickly, his voice rising. Sophia's expression darkened. Do you think I don't know the truth? It wasn't how you think, James defended, his hands trembling. I can't forgive you. Stop lying, James, you're misunderstanding everything, he pleaded. I saw you with her. You were laughing together, Sophia said, her voice breaking slightly. James swallowed hard. We're not getting divorced, we are. It's final, Sophia declared. James shook his head. I never agreed to that, you brought this on yourself, Sophia said calmly. The rain began to fall harder, blurring the edges of the world around them. James stood there, clutching the flowers, his heart sinking deeper with each drop. Sophia walked away without looking back, her figure fading into the storm. James watched as she disappeared into the distance. The flowers sagged in his hands, their petals heavy with rain. His chest ached with regret and sadness. Their love, once full of promise, now seemed washed away, swept into the cold rain. As he stood alone, James realized that sometimes, love isn't enough to fix everything. All he could do was hope that tomorrow would bring peace, for both of them and for their child. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. See you in the next video.